This is the Wally and Methot Show. Now, here are your hosts, Brent Wallace and Marc Methot.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wally and Methot Show. I'm Brent Wallace. He's Marc Methot, also known as the jolly old elf himself. Meth, is your Christmas shopping done?
You jolly old elf? I'm more of like the grumpy old elf, Wally. And no, Christmas shopping? Are you kidding me? You couldn't pay me right now to go to Costco on a weekend or a shopping mall for that matter. So I haven't purchased anything for you and Craig just yet. It might be a delayed, maybe, post New Year gift or something. We'll see.
Okay, wait a second. So what about Ellie? Have you not bought her gifts?
Nope.
What?
Ellie can go to HomeSense any day of the week that she wants. And you're going to sit here and tell me that I need to go get her a gift? Are you kidding me?
No, it's pillows. She needs the pillows.
No. Like if I could just turn my camera, like I'm in the theater room. I've said this before, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of it's just in shambles because of the podcast setup and all that stuff. But there are still tons of pillows in here that don't ever see the light of day. So I don't know what we're gonna do. I'll get her a card or something. We don't need to be buying each other gifts.
Wow, you are all heart. The Wally Methot Show brought to you by BEI, Bonesaw Excavating Inc. They are helping to shape the Ottawa Valley. Go to boneshawexcavating.com. And a reminder to slow down in construction zones, especially this time of year. Were you on the roads, by the way, on Wednesday night with the freezing rain that was falling?
No, I don't believe so.
I had to go to Arnprior to take my kids skating, and there was 4 accidents between Ottawa and Arnprior in the entire time. Up and back. It was wild to me. Like, roads got really bad really quick. Anyway.
Yeah, well, it's the weather we've been getting lately, right? Like, and I think today we're supposed to get a little bit of freezing rain too. So I'm just going to be hibernating in the basement, I think. Yeah. Oh yeah. By the way, I forgot to mention, Wally, 2 sick kids. So, we're all battling colds in our house right now. Confirmed, not COVID, by the way, before anybody starts attacking me. So if I sound a little nasally, that's what's going on right now. So this is actually nice refuge for me as we speak. I've been able to get away from the kids for a little bit.
Welcome to the 4-hour edition of the Wally and Methot
Show. Could you imagine? She would storm in here, guaranteed.
That'd be so good. I might just try to do that. All right, let's get to the headlines, shall we? Brought to you by sportsinteraction.com. Go to sportsinteraction.com/Wally Methot for the most competitive odds. They are Canada's online casino and sportsbook. Meth, the Ottawa Senators, they're flying. They're like, let's call this in a sunshine state as they're in Tampa taking on the Lightning in Thursday night's game. They have won 5 of 6. The big question is why?
Can you tell me why? I don't know why. I've been betting against them almost every game.
I know. And I think we saw this at the end of last season. I keep comparing it because at the end of last season, they said, listen, we're just here to try and rebuild for next year. We're going to play all the young guys and we're just going to go out and play loose and play whatever. Yeah. So these guys are now skating with pace. Alex Formenton on the second line has allowed a little bit more speed, especially with Tim Stützle in the middle. They've got some guys in the back end who are moving a little quicker. All that pace is one thing. But the other part, and you tell me if I'm wrong, if you don't have to worry about winning games and you can worry about maybe taking some chances and picking up an extra point, you may not be as first back on the back check as you need to be, or as quick to a puck in the defensive zone if you're trying to blow the zone and trying to get up the ice. And I think that's a part. They don't have the pressure, Matt, of trying to win because their head coach has said, we're in a rebuilding mode right now, or we're redevelopment or whatever it's called, development stage. So that's what I think is transpiring. I don't think that they're any better than they were. I just think now they're playing a lot more loose and free.
That's for sure one thing that's going on. And I have to agree with you there, Wally. And I think that was a really smart move by DJ, like just to take a little bit of pressure off the group, particularly when he did, as far as, the team just kind of coming out of a skid and they get a couple of nice wins. DJ comes out, makes a couple comments. I don't mind that, really. I don't, especially in a season like this one where we all know what they are. And then, of course, the word is that Brady kind of came and spoke up after that Vancouver loss with the group. They had a little, get together, if you will, a post-game chat that usually can spark a team as well. And then the biggest thing for me is your goaltending. I mean, right now with Forsberg and the way he's been playing, which I know we're going to get to that, but all of that kind of coming together at the right time. And really the timing to me, Wally, is the biggest thing. Like, this is to start stringing together wins now, particularly against these teams, just with the fan interest. I mean, you're going to get around Christmas time. You're heading towards that halfway mark in the season. It just keeps everybody engaged. So I couldn't be happier for the group. Again, did not expect that, but if they can continue to string together the odd win here and there against some really good notable teams, it's going to keep a lot of people interested going into the spring.
And I will say, even during almost the losing streak, minus a couple of games in Vancouver for sure, they weren't playing. They play an exciting brand of hockey, right? They're up on the ice. They're young. They're energetic. You see, they don't quit. I do enjoy watching it. So the wins and losses doesn't always necessarily mean a whole lot to me. You want just to be a quality product,
competitive, 100%.
Yeah. So tonight is their 27th game. I think it is. Compare this to last year. How many more wins do the Ottawa Senators, have compared to last year at this time?
Oh, I have no idea. I know that, are they? I feel like they're roughly around the same point. Like I don't know that their record's a lot different. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm assuming you're asking me a trivia question right now. And if that is in fact,
I'll send you a prize.
I feel like I feel like the numbers are very similar.
They are. Wrong? Yeah, no. 1 win difference. So
there you go. Yeah.
For all this big run that they're on right now, they're basically the same team they were last year. So I'm not sure it means anything. I just want to point out, like, maybe the jump hasn't been so significant.
Well, yes and no. They went through there was a there that they just got past that was very significant, where the sky was falling, and as far as everybody was. I know, but it was different. They weren't at the same point as far as their rebuild goes, right? And that is a fair excuse. Like, that's true. You look at last season, they weren't finished, and I still don't think they're finished.
They're not.
But and we talk about this every time we do our show, where we want to see constant progression, right? We don't want to see them take a step back. But we look early on at some of their losses, and I'm talking about this season. They didn't always have goaltending, Wally. Like, there were some games where the team was very competitive, and whether it was always either their defensive structure and/or letting in a couple soft goals that was just kind of deflating for the group, right? Well, now all of a sudden you're getting very solid and consistent goaltending, and lo and behold, they're winning some games. I stress this every time. Everyone's always looking for the formula. What's the reason? Of course, their PK is doing well, and they're getting some good opportunistic power play goals now, but the biggest thing, the common denominator all the time when it comes to these wins is goaltending. It's your most important position. It's your most important player on the team. I think that if Forsberg can keep this up, you're going to have an opportunity to win every night, no matter who you're playing against.
We're going to get to Forsberg right now, but I just want to point out it's the first time on our show that Marc Methot has not credited a defenseman for the turnaround of the Ottawa Senators. I just want to bring that up.
Well, that's okay. Fair. You know, Wally, but I'm glad you brought that up, because they have been playing much better in their own zone. There's no question. And even against Tampa, like, I'm thinking the last home game was, I believe, Tampa. Was it Tampa, Wally?
Yeah. Yes.
The Saturday game. Yeah.
And then they went to Florida.
Yeah. And then they went to Florida. Yeah. So, I watched that game, and I, the start was a little off. They didn't look great, but then they had a couple of days off. Obviously there was a little lull, but then in the second period, they looked like a completely different team when they came out. So a couple things are going on there, but one of the biggest ones is they just seemed to play with pace there. Like, they were very tentative at the beginning. They weren't really establishing a forecheck. They weren't establishing their cycle, which is what they're very good at doing. And that's what creates them a lot of opportunities. They were getting their zone exits in that second period. And all of a sudden, you're not just working your tail off in your D zone, finally getting it into the neutral zone and having to dump it and then change, where you're giving the other team a completely controlled breakout. So when you can take it out of your zone right away, you're efficient. You can spend more time and energy in that offensive zone, wear down their D. That's basic 101 when it comes to wearing down your opponent, right? So they're starting to do that now. And that's because you're getting much cleaner breakouts and exits and better goaltending.
Yeah. Just a couple of notes to show you why maybe the last 5 or 6 games have been victorious. 26 goals for, 16 goals against. Their power plays at 30%, 6 for 20, and their penalty kill has been outstanding. Basically 90%, 2 for 19. They've allowed power play goals. All right. So this may be one of my favorite titles of all time. You're going to hate it. May the Forsberg be with you. So Anton Forsberg. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, you can't help yourself. You do this every time.
I cringe.
I know, that's the best part.
I don't want them to be nice and good and like Anton.
I know.
I don't know something. Anyway, is he for real
Right.
for a guy they claimed off waivers basically 2 years ago? Can he get the job done?
Yeah, well, I mean, what a pleasant surprise. Let's just say that. I mean, it was a very low risk pickup. It was cheap, and he's turning out to be a fantastic goalie so far. But as you just mentioned, very small sample size. And we've been doing this now. I guess I'm a little apprehensive now when it comes to the goaltending situation in Ottawa and fawning over any particular flavor of the week or month, because it's been a bit of a revolving door between Gustafsson, Murray, and Forsberg, of course. So he's been great lately. Anton Forsberg's been terrific. You got to give him his props there.
Yep.
However, like you said, Wally, I'd like to see a little bit more. But what I am seeing is a goalie that looks very confident. He's very calm. And it's not like he's having to do, I don't think any of this recent success has anything to do with luck. I think that he truly has earned those wins. He's had some huge performances. We're not talking about, 20 to 25 save nights where the team's hanging on to dear life and he's getting a little fortunate. I mean, he's strung together a couple 40 plus save nights. He's earned that right now. I just want to see a little more before I jump onto the wagon here on the train, the Forsberg train. And I mean, I know what is he? He's almost 30. My last point, a lot of goalies usually take time to develop, right? Like you're not typically in your prime until your mid to late 20s for goaltenders. At least that's from what I've seen over the years. And he's right there. So maybe this was his opportunity and he's seizing it. But like I said, and like you mentioned, Wally, we need to see a little bit more consistency before we start hopping on that wagon.
Okay, so here, and this may not even be a dilemma for Pierre Dorian. If he puts together, I don't know, 15 wins or whatever it is, and you can tell he's the number one guy on the team this year, he's a UFA at the end of the season. What do you do? You've almost basically said to Philip Gustafsson, who I think is on a one-way next year, you're our backup. Matt Murray's the guy in the net. If they I don't see them buying out Matt Murray. I don't know, but I just don't see it. Maybe they can make a trade and they facilitate him getting eating up. He'll have to eat up half his contract or something. But if Matt Murray is still here and Philip Gustafsson's still here, where's Anton Forsberg?
Oh, that's the $1 million question. And that's putting the team in a really difficult spot right now, right? Because they haven't had a lot of success with some of their free agent signings, as we've been discussing now for the last couple of weeks. And it hasn't gone particularly well for the group. We've seen a lot of players come and go very quickly with some pretty good contracts being thrown around. Yeah. So I feel like the team's going to be a little cautious with this one. But how do you argue with his numbers? That's what we're gonna. That's what it gets down to. But you're a good point. But you're a good point, Wally. Right? In 15 games, if he strings together another 15 games where he's playing very well, I mean, does the team not have a choice in that case but to sign him? And then it comes down to numbers. So what are you comfortable with? Right? I mean, you're going to have 3 goalies on one ways. You're going to have to move one, I'm sure. And I don't know that you can move Matt Murray. So what do you do? Do you buy him out? Is the team willing to do that? These are all management questions. And I'm a dummy when it comes to the numbers and the general manager moves. I'm not like I'm any better than anybody else when it comes to making those decisions. But I do agree with you, Wally. Like that puts the team in a really tough spot. It's a good problem to have, but the pressure's on because all of a sudden you're going into next year and you got 3 guys and you got to pick 2 of them. And who are you going to go with?
It's interesting because what if he is just a flash in the pan, for lack of a better term? And we've seen I know. Andrew Hammond had the great run, but was never able to replicate that. Mike Condon, I think, was more of an injury base, but he was never able to replicate the way that he came over after the trade from Pittsburgh. That's all. I'm just thinking in the back of my head, you get on these runs and you necessarily can't sustain it and you get a big deal. And now the franchise is tied to 3 goalies trying to figure out what to do with them. And they end up basically giving one of the way by the end of it. Right. All right. Yeah. So something we talk about every show, because it seems to be a very easy thing to discuss. The Josh Norris line. So let's just put this out there. So Drake Batherson's on a 6-game point streak, 12 points, 2 goals, 10 assists. Just had his second career 4-point game this season. I got to double check. He's got 28 points on the season. I meant to look this up. I totally forgot to do my job. But pretty high up in point totals this season. Norris, last 8 games, he's got 10 points, 51% in faceoffs. He's scored goals in 3 straight games where he's got 4. Brady Tkachuk, 8-3-11 in his last 7 games. He's not gone more than 2 games without a point. And we've talked about him coming back, right, and not having any training camp. and being super consistent. 3 power play goals in his last 2 games. Combined, the 3 of them have 35 goals this season. That accounts for 47.3% of the team's goals. That's an astonishing number. And while it's very good, it also leads to they need better production from other places. But it just they've been so good, Meth. It's just fun to watch them play with the puck.
Yeah, and what a treat. I think this team is incredibly fortunate. Like, what a great job drafting, first of all. You've got 3 guys all playing together that have seemingly had instant chemistry. And that's something that takes time to develop, and they're really fast tracking that along well. And that's something that I think the team has is a huge strength. And I know we've talked about this already plenty, but you finally have a legitimate number 1 line. Like it's a legit number 1 line.
So let's break it up.
Yeah. Well, and that's what people are going to discuss. And it's going to be very tempting to do that. For that instant remedy as far as secondary scoring goes. I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't do it. You've got a good thing going right now, and you have to understand what your expectation level is for the year. And I'm not going to go there. I've already talked about that a lot as well. But I think with the trio that you have right now, you just leave them together. Don't mess with a good thing. You want these guys to be a force to be reckoned with over the next couple seasons, for the next 5 years, potentially, whatever it may be. Leave them together. Let them continue to develop together. Because this is such a nice, welcoming problem to have at the Ottawa Senators, right? And it can be remedied. You can remedy that secondary scoring with a couple acquisitions. You got to do your homework. They've got pro scouts that go around the NHL, watch games every night, figure out somebody that you can bring in to bolster that second line. Assuming you want to keep Stützle there as a second line center, and that's in that 2-hole. Maybe you leave Connor Brown there, bring in another guy to play that left side, assuming Formanton perhaps shouldn't belong on that line. Maybe he does.
Yeah.
But if you can go after another top 6 winger, bring him in the offseason, which I know I'm stating the obvious, that may be the issue and the problem solving thing to do right now. And again, there's no rush. It doesn't need to happen at trade deadline. You can wait until free agency, do your homework, make sure that you find the right guy that you know is still got some mileage on him. Don't go after a player who's on his, who's trending downward, who's maybe in his 30s or late 20s. You're going to have to spend a little bit. You go after a good young player that has plenty of miles ahead of him, be okay.
I did let you down because people have been talking about finding a name for this line, and I haven't been able to come up with a catchy one. So the only thing I could think
of,
and I think that you may just leave the show if I come up with this, but here's what I got. Okay, ready? The Gordie Howe line. So I can just tell by the reaction in your face. You've got a guy who scores goals, Josh Norris, a guy that sets up goals, Drake Batherson, and a guy who fights. It's the Gordie Howe hat trick line. You're welcome. And Josh Norris wears 9. So there. Okay, thanks. We'll just move on, shall we?
Stop. Yeah, let's move on. All right.
I had a little eggnog before. So people have talked about, is this the best line since Alfredsson, Spezza, and Heatley? So I went back and looked at the Alfredsson, Spezza, Heatley line's best year, which is 05-06, where they averaged the most points per game. Not necessarily their most points per everybody, but anyway, this was their best line. So Alfredsson is at 134, so 1.34 points per game. Spezza is 1.32. Heatley's 1.26. They all, 2 of them had 103 points. That's Heatley and Alfredsson. So Batherson, Tkachuk, Norris, they are averaging, like, Batherson's 1.33, Tkachuk is 0.96, and Norris is 0.85. Before we crown them like the best line ever, there is a huge discrepancy where we're talking about 2-time 50 goal scorer and Calder Trophy winner and guys who have recorded 100 points. I do like the line. I think it's fun to watch. But I think putting it in perspective of that, how dominant that Alfredsson, Spezza, Heatley line was, just brings it to a whole new level.
Yeah, those numbers are stupid good. Yeah. Like I didn't realize. It's funny, like I've got them in front of me. You sent me that email. I didn't realize that they were running that high. So to me, I mean, that Alfie, Spez, Heatley line would have been a complete nightmare to play against. I can only imagine, especially, in their prime. And it just puts into perspective how great a team they had at that time, right? It's such a shame they couldn't figure it out. But no, you can't make a comparison yet. It's a great discussion to have, and it's it's neat that we can even kind of have them in the same conversation. Because that's how good the Batherson, Tkachuk, and Norris line have been for the Ottawa Senators. Obviously not on that level, but this is something to watch. And this is what I touched on earlier when I say you need to keep these guys together to let them grow. They're only going to get more and more dominant as they go. And another good benchmark or kind of standard that you can compare them to, like the Bergeron line with Marchand, obviously over the years, Krejci kind of was interchanged through that line, but you allow guys to grow up together like that, and the same applies on the back end on defense. Everything becomes automatic. When I used to go get pucks in the corner and I was playing with Eric, particularly in our second, third seasons together, and beyond that, everything was automatic. I knew where Eric was going to be every time I went to the corner to try to win a loose puck battle. And and I say this all the time, it's like I had two low centers to choose from. And Eric, I knew his voice, obviously. I knew where he was going to be on the offensive blue line, and his positioning was going to be. The same applies for your forwards. And you're seeing it now when that Batherson line is running the cycle. That to me is the biggest indicator. Forget about their defensive game, which is surprisingly and very undercover good. Offensively in the ozone, when they're running their little cycles, you can see where Brady kind of will sag out into that little soft spot by the dot for a little one-timer. And Norris finds a spot a lot on the power play as well, but they just know where each other are at all times. And that's what makes them so everything's sped up, right? You're not having to think that extra like 1 or 2 split second of having to think and take a look. Now that's eliminated. You're cutting through all that and you're able to find them right away. So that's an issue. That's a huge bonus that this team has with them. And I know I'm pumping their tires like crazy this morning. I feel like that's all we ever do, but it's been deserved. Like they've been terrific.
Yeah. And going back to the Alfie line, like it was, I don't know if we appreciated maybe enough of how dominant it was at the time. We're like, yeah, they're pretty good. But when you look back, like you could see that they figured out plays 2 steps ahead of everybody else. But the one thing I always saw was Spezza was always going to feed the puck through the crease to Danny Heatley, and everybody knew it was coming, and it still finds a stick and it still goes in. And that's the stuff I'm like, why are you guys trying? So I remember asking like the other team, like, it's coming. He's like, we can't stop it because you got Alfredson waiting there waiting to do a one-timer. Like they just make plays that nobody else can make.
Yeah. And that's, and a great example to your point, Wally, would be when I would play against, when we would play against Tampa, and Kucherov still does it. Mind you, he's been hurt now for a couple of years, but we always knew where he was going to be for his little one-time spot on their power play, which would be on my side. It would have been on the left side of our left side of the ice. And it's his little office. Same with Ovechkin. You know where he's going to be standing all the time. But because the puck gets moved around so much and these guys have such great chemistry that you have to adjust. You can't just have a guy standing there the whole time, right? So eventually the puck finds its way across. And it's, as you mentioned, with Heater, how he was always there in that same spot on that insane angle that he would hit. And it was like clockwork. They'd find it. And you got to be able to bury it, right? It's one thing to talk about it and be like, well, it was such a great setup play every time, but to be able to put it away every time the way he did is very impressive.
Like 50 goal scorers in the National Hockey League. I'll use your term. They're like unicorns now, right? They just don't come along anymore.
That's right. That's right.
We'll trademark that. Whenever we say unicorn, there should be like a little ding or a trademark in the show from now on. We'll have to let Craig figure that out.
People have already stolen that line. We've already had this discussion, Wally, and I'm not impressed, but that's okay. I'm glad I'm a pioneer with that term.
You are very pioneerish, like very country rednecky. I will say that. I see you as a tent guy.
Let's move this along. I'm not in the mood to get chirp right now. Okay.
Okay. Leader of the pack.
I've got a cold.
Right. Sorry. It's the holidays. My bad. Leader of the pack brought to you by Gong Show. Go to gongshowgear.ca. Order up some Wally Methot merch if you want, or just get the rest of your holiday shopping done at gongshowgear.ca. Okay. Thomas Chabot, Meth. We haven't mentioned a defenseman yet. So here we go. Last 5 games, he's got 8 points. He still leads the league in ice time at 26.54, but interesting, the last 2 games, because they've been so lopsided where they've outscored the Florida teams 12-2, he's played 20, 23, and 20.56. And by the way, he is a +6. How much is that rest going to be a benefit for Thomas Chabot? It's been well overdue for him to get some, reduction in ice time. And now we're starting to see it as they win more games.
Yeah, I think it's crucial. And I don't want to lean on that too much, because I would say that the rest is huge if the team is making a legitimate push for it, which, I mean, you can never write off anybody, and I feel bad even mentioning that, but I'm sure he's welcoming it. I think for Thomas Chabot right now, the biggest thing is he just needs to get that goal. I think get that monkey off his back, where I know he's saying all the right things, and he's an elite player, so there's no criticism in his game. I think he's been terrific. I really like the way he's been playing in the D zone too. I mean, he's not just one-dimensional. He's been very good defensively too. And I mean, to play those minutes, have such a well-rounded game is huge. So you mentioned the playing less minutes. That's to me, I know I'm repeating myself. To me, that's so important because it just kind of freshens up his game again, where all of a sudden, it doesn't feel like he's having to take on a lion's share of that ice time. You can spread it out properly. You're going into the Christmas break. He'll have a couple days there. Then I don't know what's going to be happening with the Olympics. That's a whole different talking point. But when we're talking about Thomas Chabot's game, that's where he belongs. He belongs around 25 minutes. Let's be honest. Anything above 27, 28 is ridiculous. I know he can handle it, but you can see it affect his game. And it's the little things. When you're jumping up into the play, and you're already into the third period, and perhaps you've already played 25 minutes at this point, what do you think that's going to do to your legs? I mean, you're going to lose a step. Mentally, that fatigue sets in. You're not going to be as sharp. So you're going to get a much better player. And I know we're talking 2 to 3 minute difference here, but if you can set him in around 25, you're going to get an elite player for sure every night. And I think that's where they want to have him. Unfortunately, over the last year and a half, they haven't had that flexibility because there hasn't been enough depth on that backside. But when all the defense are playing much better, as they have been lately, you're getting better goaltending. The team can afford to sit him back a little bit. He also mentioned in an interview, and they mentioned his ice time to him last game, where I believe his response was pretty simple. It was sort of along the lines of, well, situation out there on the ice right now isn't allowing me to play as much because of all the penalties and the PKs and all that stuff. So that might be a contributor to playing less minutes. I don't think that it's something the coaches have actively tried to do, but it's been a blessing in disguise because he's playing better hockey for it.
I think 6 minutes is significant based on they're pretty average. Huge. There hasn't been 19 different penalties in the last 2 games. I'm just saying that's
true.
So Thomas Chabot has always found a way to get around and dance that question. He's either said, I don't mind it. I will play as much as I can.
Well, he doesn't want to throw his coaches under the bus, right?
So that's another thing. Yeah. I put 0 into his point of saying, well, there's been a lot of penalties. So it's just nonsense. So here's my last question on Thomas Chabot. And that is, we in Ottawa who watch him all the time think that he deserves to be on the Olympic team. And there's a lot of other people to do too, but we're slightly biased, obviously. But my point to you, Meth, is a guy who's played 600 games in the National Hockey League. What does Thomas Chabot do that makes him among the top 6 best D-men in Canada, if you will? Is there something that he does that you notice it's like, that's super elite for anybody?
Yeah. Wow. That's a tough question. It's funny. I've never really looked at it that way. You're stumping me here, Wally. I think with Thomas Chabot, it's just his ability to kind of control the flow of the game, right? Like when I'm watching Shabby play on his game, when he's on it, he's really good on transition. So he can create a turnover on a one-on-one. I believe I saw him do that once against Tampa. Well, he does it all the time, but one particular play where I think they were in the third period and he was defending a rush and there was a bit of a foot race. He was able to not only knock the puck free, but put it in a soft spot where he could retrieve it himself, then created a breakout, right? And I don't know that he's elite power play guy or elite in any specific area. He's just really good all over the ice, and he's not super physical, but he doesn't need to be because he's a very good skater. That's one thing I'll give him. Actually, he's an elite skater. He's very smooth. I don't know that he's ultra dynamic like Erik Karlsson was, where he can just kind of turn it on to a dime like that and he's gone. He's a little more flow, maybe less like he's not quite as fast on those first couple steps as a guy like Erik. But again, more well-rounded. And I think right now with the way he's been playing, it comes down, I think the knock on him will be the offensive stuff, right? Not getting any goals. Because you mentioned Team Canada, that's going to be a thing. But then again, you can make an argument that if you're playing for Canada,
they don't need him to score one goal.
Exactly. I was just going to say that. You just need to have the ability out of your D-core to get your forwards the puck. And he's excellent at doing that. So he plays in a smaller market. Who do you compare him to? Is he better than Morgan Riley? Like those are conversations that, you're going to lean one way or the other, depending where you're living in Ontario. Right.
Yeah. I was going to say, you can't compare a Leaf to a Senator. You're going to blow up our show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I want to be honest, I'm indifferent there. Like, really, I could lean on Thomas Chabot right now because he's an Ottawa Senator and I'm just a huge fan of his. But I don't know, man. Like it's such a hard decision to make. I mean, if you're running that team right now and you're trying to pick players to fill that back end, boy, like where does Chabot fit in there? He can fit in there anywhere, but then you have a bunch of other elite all-stars to pick from. So I think the knock on Chabot right now will be the numbers, and that's an out that Team Canada can use to justify not putting him in the lineup. But I do think he belongs. I really do.
One of the things they pay attention to is how they've represented Canada in the past. Did they answer the call to the World Championships, right? You know this.
Correct.
Did they play World Juniors? Have they been in the program? Plays a huge part. I'm not sure that there's any way that Thomas Chabot's not on that team. I get it. I'm in Ottawa watching him all the time. I just think the way he plays consistently night in, night out, he becomes that guy.
Yeah. And look at Doughty. Like Doughty's a good example of the point you just made, right? He's been elite on the international level for Team Canada, like everywhere. So they give him the benefit, like he's a great player. I'm not saying he's not right now, but those are like, you could make an argument. There are other defensemen that are playing better than him right now, but because of his history with Team Canada and the ability that he has to elevate his game, that's a huge thing. And it doesn't really get talked about enough, right? Like your prior history with Team Canada is a huge indicator whether you're going to be on that team or not. So that's another good point. And Shabby's been really good on the international stage too.
You know what? And the last thing before we move on to Yarkko Ruutu, the thing that always makes me laugh is we talk about these teams, Team USA, Team Canada, and then we discuss them like they're just building a regular team. Like he's not good enough to be on that team. And then we're talking about elite hockey players in the National Hockey League.
I know.
There's no way he should be on that. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's a 3-time Stanley Cup champion or whatever, right? That always makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I feel dirty.
I
feel dirty when I'm like chirping a really good player, but we're not chirping them. We're just comparing to other great players. And you have to narrow down a list. So it's all good.
It's the first time probably any of them have heard anything like that about themselves trying to make a hockey team, right? Because they've always had this great success. Now they're getting anyway.
It's so true.
It is fun to watch. All right, coming up.
Yeah, agreed.
We got Yarkko Ruutu, longtime Ottawa Senator, who's just a lot of fun to be around. One of my favorite guys to talk to in the locker room. That is brought to you by Whitewater Brewery. Shop whitewater.ca. Use the Wally Methot coupon code. They've got a couple of things to look at if you listen. I know it's been a busy holiday season, so why not get something for yourself? Pick up like a mix 6, if you will. It's a 6-pack. You pick the beers, $18. They're all 473 milliliter cans. That's tall boys. Or the 4x4x4, it's a 12-pack, $36. Listen, just get something for yourself finally. Great beers brewed by friends for friends. Go to shopwhitewater.ca and remember to please drink responsibly there. I want to wish you the best this holiday season. Pearls of Wisdom brought to you by sportsinteraction.com. Here's the pearls on our good friend Yarkko Ruutu. 12, the career high number in goals. He set that for a season. It was a member of the Ottawa Senators back in 09-10. 4, NHL teams played for: Vancouver, Pittsburgh, Ottawa, Anaheim. 5, that's the number of games he's been suspended for in his NHL career, including 2 for a little biting incident we'll get into, and 2 Olympic medals, along with some other World Championship medals as well. He's got a silver from 06 and a bronze in 2010. In the Whitewater chat now, let's be joined with our good friend, Yarkko Ruutu. Welcome back to the Wally Methot Show, and now presented by Whitewater Beer. It's the chat. We bring in our good friend and former Ottawa Senator, Yarkko Ruutu, all the way from Helsinki, Finland. You are now the furthest guest we've ever interviewed on the show. Congratulations, I think.
That's exotic. Thank you.
How are you,
Thanks
sir?
for pumping my tires.
Oh, I got lots of things to pump your tires about. We'll get to that in a sec. How are you doing?
Good. Just living life in Helsinki and working for Columbus, player development coach. 2 small kids, so that's handful to handle.
Do you like being a coach?
Yeah, it's the playing is the best part. Nothing's as good at it as playing, but it's right after that. It's a great way to stay involved and be involved with the guys and help them to reach their goal and dream.
Now,
Roots, how old are your kids? I'm just curious.
5 and 8. So
Okay,
they're a
so
little
they're busy
better than
playing.
it used to be, but
Yeah,
it's busy.
Nice.
would you ever go behind the bench and be a coach in the NHL?
Oh, well, that would be a long journey to get that far. I haven't thought about it too far. Not as of right now. But who knows what happens in life. But I think it's something that you really have to work for hard, and not in my mind right now.
Fair enough. I got lots of questions for you. One of the ones I want to start with, you'll probably be upset with me, is recently Brady Tkachuk was bit by Brendan Lemieux. Lemieux got 5 games. I think you know where I'm going with this. You were the last player to be suspended in the National Hockey League for biting 2 games on Andrew Peters when you were a member of the Ottawa Senators. What do you remember about that incident? And I remember you just saying, if he doesn't want to get bit, he shouldn't put his hands in my mouth.
Yeah, actually, those were expensive buffalo fingers. Yeah, well, what happened at the time, like there was some kind of scrum, and I can't remember if I was bent over the bench, and then I got fist choked, and I was pretty reactive at the time, but who knows, at least it's a good story.
So did he put his finger in your mouth? Is that how it happened?
Yeah, he was actually pulling my out of the he was fish hooking, so I was like, my hands were tied, so what did I have left? Nothing. Let's try to survive somehow.
Yeah, that's fair game. I agree.
So during your, what did they say to you during your hearing? What was that like?
It's so long time ago that I don't even remember. They probably asked me, did I bite him? I probably told this exact same story. And it was like, did I only get 2 games? Well, yeah. I guess.
Yeah.
You got a better memory, or you Googled it.
No, I Googled it. Yeah, no question.
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
I figured. Yeah, but it wasn't that big of a deal. I've done it all. So.
Well, don't worry. We're getting to all that.
Yeah.
You played
part of the resume.
In the resume, I'm not sure people understand exactly what you were like. You were a very good hockey player, but you were an extremely very good agitator, which I think you liked or relished. Would you was that a role that you embraced, if you will?
Yeah, I had to find a way to kind of, survive or make myself somehow, relevant in the game. I wasn't good enough scoring. I was good defensively. I wasn't, I tried to bring in something that, a lot of other guys didn't have in their toolbox. And so it kind of formed along the way. And I guess probably most of the people just remember that part. And, I'm glad to, take it, at least I left some kind of memory for people.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, you scored 2 goals in the series with Pittsburgh that eliminated Ottawa, I think, including the series clincher. So you did score some goals. Not everybody is happy with some of them, of course, especially here in Ottawa. But yeah, you did have some big goals along the way.
Some couple lucky bounces. Brian Lee, I think he still remembers that. I kept plugging about him at that when we played together.
Brian Lee, a name that doesn't get mentioned very often. You played, as I said, with Matt Cook and against Sean Avery. There's apparently a story about you agitated Sean Avery so much that he lost his mind. I don't know how excessive that was. Do you remember this incident?
Yeah, we had our battles. It was in LA, as in Vancouver, and then with the Rangers, and so we're kind of played against each other quite a bit. And he was going after our guys, and obviously I was going after their guys. And then we had our chats, quite a few times, and there was no holding back. Yeah, just I'm sure I've said it all. I can't remember that far, but I've said a lot of things in the game. Not a lot of things you can say anymore, but
no,
it's changed.
Yeah, no, it's changed a lot. But did you relish playing in those games? Did you look forward to having him on the other side, or was it you're just like, I just would like to get away from this guy?
Well, I loved it. The more attention I got, the better. The more attention you got from other players or star players or anybody trying to chase you down the ice or try to get back at you, focusing on me instead of the puck. I loved it. That's I only got more lit up on it.
Did you study other people's backgrounds or whatnot? Like people goaltenders study how players shoot, but I know as an agitator, you want to know outside the game what these people were like.
Yeah, I tried to study as much as possible, hearing stories, from teammates or whoever. And, obviously then you follow what happens in the game. You kind of feel how they're doing their career. Maybe during the season, they might be frustrated, not scoring, just used everything against it. And, if you got some kind of reaction from them, I think things were going my way. There was a lot of incidents too that things weren't, some guys didn't pay any attention. They just ignored me and then I just quit wasting my time because it wasn't going anywhere. But it's almost like it's hard to draw the line because you're always playing in the edge and kind of borderline with a lot of different things. Sometimes it went over, I hurt my team by taking a penalty. Sometimes it worked for the team. So it's not a simple task, but at least there's some stories left.
So when you leave a team and come back, you obviously you played with Sidney Crosby and Malkin and all those guys in Pittsburgh. Then you come to Ottawa. When you went back to Pittsburgh, did you ever say anything or do anything? Did you try to get under Sidney's skin? Would he allow that to happen?
I don't think I said much to Sid. He knew my game. I played before Pittsburgh. I played against him a couple of times, but obviously I knew that I tried to do other stuff. Just hold him down and kind of frustrate him by doing some extra steering, not even verbally, just more physically and kind of holding down and trying to do the little tricks. And somehow I don't know how much affected him. He's very passionate the way he plays and plays with emotion. Sometimes I'm sure he was mad at me, but I don't think he really shows it that much.
Would Yarkko Ruutu hate to play against Yarkko Ruutu?
I'm sure. It's hard to say about myself, but ask my wife, she would probably say that, yeah, you're so irritating at times. And I don't know how somebody's with you. We're so long time.
Which former teammates are you still really good friends with?
That's a tough question. I don't talk that much to the guys in North America. Well, Steve Correa is probably one of the guys that are actually staying in contact a lot. But at the same time, they're still working in the league and bump into these guys. And some guys are scouting, some guys are in other roles. So it's not a everyday thing. You just it's one of those things. Once you get to know the teammates you've played with, I think that it's a bond forever. You regardless if you see him in 10 or 20 years, you still kind of get a certain feeling of the guy and who he is.
You played 201 games for the Ottawa Senators, 21 goals, 57 points, 324 PIMs over 3 seasons. What do you remember most about playing for Ottawa?
Century Club, which we call our line, and it was Dean McCammond was actually in it, me and Sean Donovan. Then I guess it's kind of some other guys, Winchester and Chris Neal and Kelly. So we kind of said the central line comes from the guys is their age together is over 100 years, so we're kind of experienced guys. And we called ourselves that, and I think the best part is probably the second year I was there. I would say that was probably the best hockey I played with. I played in during my career with Kelly and Nealer, and sometimes just Donovan was in the line. We just had great chemistry, the way we played, and that was fun time. And obviously, it didn't work the way we wanted it to win the Stanley Cup. But I think that was a great time, and I really, really enjoyed the time in Ottawa.
How was Nealer at the time when you were playing? I played with Nealer too. Was he still pranking guys off the ice and stirring up shit in the dressing room? Was that still his style then?
Yeah, and he wasn't good taking at it either. Once guys were trying to prank him, he was losing it. I don't think they ever changed. He's always the same way. And,
he could dish it out, but he couldn't take it.
Oh yeah. And that's usually a good thing for other guys to stir the pot.
Yeah, agreed.
mix it up, pretend somebody else, and stay out of the scrum and blame somebody else, and then they go against each other. You're actually the one that's doing all the pranks.
I sent Neeler a text like, "Hey, I have Yarkko Ruutu coming on the show. You got any stories?" And nothing. Didn't reply once to me.
Maybe he just doesn't like you, Wally. Oh, is he mad at you, Roots?
I don't know. I don't think he is.
Did he prank
Maybe he just
you?
didn't want to answer you about Wally.
It's a very valid response to that. Did he ever prank you, or would the two of you just avoid each other?
I don't think there was a prank. I don't think he really pranked me. I could have been. I don't remember. There were so many pranks going on right and left, so I kind of forget him. At the time, you're just so mad. It's like, who's getting me? And you're trying to figure it out, and then you kind of forget him pretty quick after.
Yeah,
you had when you came to the team. It's a couple of chaotic seasons. Craig Hartsburg comes in, he gets fired. Corey Clouston comes in. He lasts, I think, for the 2 years you were there, but it just seemed to be always in a state of flux. What was, I guess, Craig Hartsburg like? I guess what's the beginning of that like when he's there and it just doesn't seem to be working out?
I really like Hartsy. I really liked how we treated players. It was a great guy. I think we had a good chemistry. I think he trusted me. And, gave me a really good opportunity. But obviously, I'm fortunate in the hockey business. If you don't win games, you get fired. And I think that's just went wrong for him. And obviously, then Corey came in. And I think we had a really good second year. Things were going our way, and then that kind of wore out during the third year, and then obviously kind of got traded and at the deadline. So there was some highs and lows, but it's just something you can't control later on.
Did you see that it was originally the first rebuild that Ottawa's ever really done? On February the 10th, Mike Fisher gets traded. On the 15th, it's Chris Kelly. And then on the 17th, it's you. Like in a very short period of time, people started getting moved out really quick. Did you see that coming at all? Was there any shock when Fish got traded?
There's some talks about guys getting traded. I knew I was going to get traded. It's a no-brainer in a lot of different ways. But I think Brian did a great job. I'm sure he would have got probably more for Fish, and talking to a lot of other teams. I just think he did a huge favor to Nashville, just sending him that way. And I think that's huge respect goes to Ryan for that. And obviously, that's the way Fish played for him, and what a warrior he was in Ottawa. And I think it's just deserved that the way he got treated too.
So you played with Spezza, Heatley, and Alfredsson, at the time regarded one of the best lines in hockey. What do you remember about the three of them and how they played when you were watching on the bench?
Hell of a players. Just how Spezza could twist the puck and create plays, and obviously he could score. He was just the natural scorer, and Alf being all around player, just put him out there in any situation as the leader of the organization. And very rarely you run into you have those type of players in your team, and obviously they were there for a long time and left a big mark. And it's something that once you've had those guys for a while, you're gonna hurt, because once you get they're getting older, you're not gonna be able to draft as high because they're such a good player. So that's what happens with every organization. But yeah, it was great to see those guys playing in their prime.
Do you watch any Sens games now? And just your brother Tuomo is a scout for the Ottawa Senators, so I don't know how much you are invested in watching them, and you're with Columbus obviously, but have you watched much this year?
No, I haven't watched any games. Actually, it's okay. Mikko is working for it. Tuomo is coaching in Florida, but I haven't watched. Obviously, I follow him because Mikko is working for them. So I just kind of obviously checking out the score and see how things are rolling in there, and I have some other interest too, obviously, for the organization. But I haven't seen any games. Yeah,
fair enough. Should Daniel Alfredsson be in the Hall of Fame? Let's see, because you've played with Malkin and Crosby, some of the game's best players, Solani, the Sedin twins, among just a few. Does Daniel Alfredsson deserve to be in the Hall of Fame?
To me, I think he does. He had a great career, and obviously what he's done in Ottawa, but at the Swedish national level, he's done well, and it's obviously there's a ton of great players in that should get into the Hall of Fame, but the only few guys can get in. But I think that Valfi should be one of them.
And people forget, like, it's called the Hockey Hall of Fame and not the NHL Hall of Fame. And his international record is phenomenal, and so I just think that alone should be able to get him in the Hall of Fame, regardless of all the NHL stuff. I don't know why there seems to be a delay on that, but I'm with you on him being in the Hall of Fame. So do you remember, were you a prankster in the room? I just remember, so I'll go back. You were one of my favorite people in the room at the time. You would always be around, joking, laughing. You would occasionally try to run and chase after me with some piece of hockey equipment or whatever, but did you play pranks on other teammates?
Oh yeah, there's always something going on, and I can't remember exactly what I did. Well, for you, I tried to actually chase you down, give you a naked hug, but you weren't willing to get one, so you ran out of the room. I don't know why.
Yeah, I was trying to leave out the detail. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, there's no secrets. Let's keep it that way. And nobody's going to listen to this anyway. But.
That's true.
But yeah, actually, it's the one thing, a prank I remember. Ty Conkling. This was in Pittsburgh. He put some tiger palm on my my helmet and on the forehead, and obviously it starts burning after a while when he's starts sweating. So yeah, I kind of waited for a little while, maybe a month or two, and then one day off, went to the rink and pulled his laundry bag, and the goalie helmets, the mask, they have like just some kind of sweatband on the forehead. So he always washed it, and so I made sure I soaked it in all that stuff, and made sure it actually dried up, and I made it smell that it was smelling just like a laundry detergent. But after a little while, he was in the net for 10 minutes. He was screaming. He was like, "Root!" His head was just burning. So just you might get him back, not the next day, but just wait for maybe 10 years. There's always a payback.
That's the best part about playing hockey that I think a lot of people don't appreciate, right? Like, you can't do half the stuff that we do in the locker room in an office space or in a normal job. You'd get fired immediately. So I love the amount of time that you put into it's intricate, the amount of time that you put into that little sweatband just to get him back. And you waited 2 months to do so. So that gives the people a little insight as to how crazy things can get in the room, and it gets much worse than that. And you can confirm this story for me, Roots, because I think were you playing with Mesros at the time when Neeler was there too?
No, he wasn't. He was gone already.
He was already gone. Okay, because I heard a story that Mez chirped Neeler, made a joke, or no, it wasn't Mesros. Would it have been Campoli? Someone chirped Neeler, and I think Neeler chased him down in the room and like punched him out. Have you ever heard that story? Was it Campoli?
I don't. Yeah, there was some kind. I don't think it punched him out, but there's something going on. I don't exactly.
I thought he chased him into the shower. Oh yeah, chased him into the shower. Or something.
It was in the shower. Actually, I remember. I think it was in the shower. It happened in the shower. They must have had their stuff on too.
Yeah. Anyway, I was wondering if you were there for that, but I guess you probably weren't in the shower at the time.
Yeah, well, I would have soaked myself up and said I would have been just wrestling then.
Did people leave you alone for the most part because they thought that if they pranked you, you would come back a whole lot worse?
I don't think. I think it was pretty even with some guys are more polite and behaving better, and then there's some guys that they're always in the middle of it. I think it was even. I don't think it was me or somebody else. I got it sometimes, and somebody else got it other times, and it's always like you're trying to figure out who did it, and that's probably the best part because everybody else knows it.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did you always find out who did it, or is there anybody to this day you don't know?
I'm not sure. I don't remember that far. It just seems like it's 100 years ago. So,
yeah. One of the things you have to do is being from Finland is serve a year in the Finnish army, if I'm not mistaken. Can you tell us about your tour of duty in the Finnish army?
Yeah, actually, I did it in two parts. It was like 96, 97. So I started the in the summer of '96, and you have to sign in, and then you're stuck there for a while, and you can only leave for till 3 till 6 after every evening. Sometimes you get a training free time for training, but it's very strict that way. So I kind of got sick of it after 3 months, and I asked for permission to leave for the season and then come back the next day. So I did actually, mine was, I think it was 9 months I did in the army, and it was just living in the woods and doing some, I don't know, it's army training. It's shooting with the machine guns and learning the habits. And I don't think it's physically that hard, but it's mentally hard because you can't control your life. You're basically told what to do and when to be where, and that's probably the hardest part of it. But everybody's got to do it. So,
didn't you get stationed at the airport?
Yeah. So yeah, basically. So if there's a war, I'm basically protecting the runways and the Helsinki airport. So I don't think it's a very safe place. There's bunkers around it, and there's certain this type of I don't know if it's a cannon or like you shoot on the planes, and it's like a huge machine gun.
Yeah,
and you load it up and belt the bullets, and that's, I don't know what it's called. We call them a Sergei. It's a Russian made a gun. But anyway, so I wouldn't be the best soldier. Let's put it this way. I would be on the front lines, but I would probably not be the best one.
Would Teemu Selanne be a good soldier?
I think all the Finnish guys would be. They would actually, they would buy in. Like they'd come and defend. It's a little different if you talk about like this and joke about it. But if actually there, you'd have to defend the country. You'd do it. And both of my grandparents, my moms and dads were in the war, and they survived. But it's big. There's only a few people left anymore in that are actually in the World War. So yeah, but actually Finns are very known for how hard they work, and how they never give up. It's called sisu. I can't translate the word, but
it's okay. We won't know it anyway. So like I said before, you played with, and I know even Sergei Gonchar's on there, and Malkin and Crosby and Teemu Selanne and the Sedins, and there's been a list of players, Heatley and Spezza and Alfie. Do you feel how blessed you were to be able to play with? Did you know at the time of how good all these players were that you're playing with, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I was very lucky to see those guys from very close every night, and it was no accident that they're so good. It's just, there's times that you sit on the bench and look at them, the way they played and the tricks they did with the puck and how they kind of controlled the pace and made the plays. The National Hockey League is very tough league to score points and goals, and those guys did it every night. It's very impressive, and the best seat, they actually paid for it. Sitting 5 minutes a game, you get the best seat in the house. They pay for it, so that's a great experience to me.
Is that tough to play? I can't remember the number of games you played. It's around 700. Maybe I'm wrong, but if you're not playing more than 10 minutes, is it tough to maintain that kind of edge in a game?
It's very hard to do anything with the puck. There's no feel for the game. There's no rhythm. As soon as you hit the 13, 14 minute mark, there's a certain type of rhythm, and it's how it's going. The game becomes much simpler. But I have a huge respect for the guys that play less than minutes, 5, 6, 7 minutes, and they can actually do something on the guys, because it's hard. It's mentally hard, but it physically, there's no feel, and you get the puck, you're almost scared of it. It's like, what do I do with this? So yeah. It's hard, and some guys are actually going to do it year after year, and it's not easy.
I looked up, I want to say one of your fights with Ottawa, you fought Donald Brashear, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm trying to figure out why.
No, it wasn't Brash. I would have been dead. I played with him in Vancouver, but I knew, it's like, no, don't be stupid.
I'm trying. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if you had a big heavyweight. I'm like, why would you try to take on heavyweights? Was there any fight you got into and was like, I shouldn't be in this fight?
I knew who I was fighting. Probably the toughest guy was actually Lucic at the time. I remember he might have been first or second or third year in the league. I was actually Pittsburgh at the time, and what happened? I knocked out a lot of the big boys, early in the year, and I knew it's like this guy can hit. So while we're down, this was in Boston. We're down by I don't know 3-4 goals, and I sat on the bench with Larocque at the time for I probably had 3 shifts the whole first 2 periods, and then Theron comes into the room and screams at us like, "Do something, do something at least." And so Brash goes and asks him to fight, and I Lucic didn't want to or something. So next time I got on the ice, I just didn't give him an option, just start punching him. I knew it's like, okay, you better not open up on the right side. So I just tried to protect my head, and he probably hit me 10 times so hard on the side. It's like, one more time, I can't take this anymore. Then he probably got a little tired, and then actually he didn't hit me that anymore on the right side, actually my left side. So the fight ended pretty quick, but my whole left side was just bruised next day, and he hit hard. So he's a pretty tough guy, but there's some bigger boys too. So it wasn't my league.
You always have like this great sarcastic wit about you. When you're on the bench and the team may be struggling, are you trying to like tell jokes, do anything, any of that stuff?
I tried to stay involved. I'm sure guys were just mad at me because I was just basically telling what's happening on the ice, and I was repeating myself. They're just like told me at times like, "Shut the fuck up," a few times because I was so loud. But it was more about being at the moment and trying to keep yourself mentally ready and somehow involved in the game, because when the next shift is coming. And so that was part of that. And obviously when there's emotions, going in the game, it was a lot easier. And in the games that there wasn't much going, it was tougher.
When you played with Matt Cook, who's also known to be a pain in the ass, for lack of a better term, did you guys share notes? Like, how was there any of that stuff, or did you guys get along?
We started actually. He was a little early on in Vancouver with me. We're in the minors.
You played in Syracuse with him,
yeah. Well, it was just quickly, and then he got called up earlier, and then we played together for quite a while. And actually, we had one tilt in the practice too. So what happened? I wasn't playing that year much. I was scratched quite a bit, and I was really frustrated. And then there was some kind of 2-on-2 or 3-on-3 drill, and I got slashed by Cookie. So then I just turned back, and then I just went at it. So we had our battles, and it was actually we were competing for the same spot. But Cookie, he was a hell of a player. He made a good career and won a cup in Pittsburgh too. So he actually filled me in when I left Pittsburgh. He came to fill in. So good timing for him.
And what's it like to have 3 brothers successful in hockey and playing in the National Hockey League at one point? Were you all playing at the same time? I think so. I can't remember.
Yeah, I played with Mikko is the middle brother. He got injured early. He hit to retire when he was like 22 or so. But he's been working with the Sens since. He got drafted maybe 99, and then he's been working as a scout probably like 20 some years for them. Actually it was great because at the younger age all we did was just play different games, and we always had friends to play with. So it was always huge competition. I think it's a big part of it that we were able to play hockey at the pro level and get where we did. And I think it's been great. And that was the weirdest thing was playing the first time against Tuomo in the NHL, because you're kind of like, you want him to do good, but you want your team to win, and you're kind of that he's on the ice. So, but he got better once the years went by, and you got used to it. But yeah, I'm proud of both my brothers, how they did and how they've done by far.
Did you chirp him much on the ice, or just let him play?
I didn't really say anything to him, but off the ice and at home, it's constant. It was like competition. we had different types of competition. Always ended up with the fight, and we played until I won. So there was no options.
Fair enough. What does Yarkko Ruutu like to do now outside of hockey? I know you got 2 young kids, so I'm assuming it takes up a ton of your time. But is there one thing you like to do to get away from the game and work?
I'm pretty busy with the work and family, and obviously there's some with the COVID, I think it just kind of messes things up, and so it's very basic stuff outside of things. I like to go in the sauna. That's a hobby I really like to do. I do quite a bit, and actually now it's great when it's cold outside and the ocean or the sea freezes over, so you can actually go swimming in the ocean when it's frozen, and they just drill a hole on it. That's great. You should try it.
No,
Roots, what's your? I want to know. Roots is I sauna every day. I have one in my gym here. I'm a huge believer in the benefits from it. Like, do you guys have one outside, or is it built in like in your house? And I want to know how long you go for. I'm curious.
No, it's actually a sea. It's actual sea. So what happens at this part of this sauna club? There's a couple different. But actually, there's in Helsinki, downtown Helsinki, there's quite a few spots. So they have those like the fans underneath the water just keeps the water open. So it's frozen. The sea is actually frozen, but the whatever fans you call them, it keeps the water circulating.
Yeah.
So there's actually open in the areas where you can swim. So I don't think it's if you just dip in and you basically sit on the stairs, you can stay there long. But there's some people actually go swimming and they actually do laps for like 5 or 10 minutes, and it's cold. So I'm not like I can swim a little bit, but I'm more of a type of guy just go down and actually dive and then come right back up. So.
Okay, so you don't sauna at your house. So you go to like the clubs where they have them. Is that?
I have sauna in my house too, but I like going to there's kind of like private / public places where it's you meet other people and you can talk to them in the sauna, and then you go skinny dipping or not. I guess you can do skinny dipping. I actually do, because it's somewhere like men only or women only a day. So
yeah.
So.
One. I'm just going to move on from that one.
Wally, you like it. You like all the naked
Wally
stuff
loves
talking about.
Roots. Wally loves this stuff. He loves it.
I know.
Show's over.
That's why I chose him.
Yeah. Every day I would expect you to chase after me in the locker room at some point. We ask everybody, and you look like you're in pretty good shape, but is there, if you're watching a movie, is there a particular snack, a cheat snack you like to eat?
Anything. Candy, finished candy, chocolate chips, anything. It's if it's on the table, it's going down. So I'm not really.
I'm
not very picky.
What about Swedish berries, or are you allowed to mention that? Are they just different name in Finland?
Sweden and Sweden have pretty much the same like loose candy. There's tons. If you like candy, it's not a good country to live in because it's everywhere, and there's so many different options. And just go to grocery. There's just huge aisles of candy, and it's tempting.
Fair enough. What day do you celebrate Christmas on? Is it the afternoon of the 24th or is it the 25th?
We're 24th. Yeah, that's actually Santa actually comes in, so we open the presents on 24th. It's the same. Like a Christmas Day is a day off, but the actual party is in the 24th.
Perfect. Roots, it was really good to see you. I appreciate the time. I'm glad you're doing well. We read about you occasionally doing some good stuff over there. Congrats on the kids and the family, and happy retirement with your coaching career with Columbus. I would like to see you back behind the bench at some point because I think it'd be entertaining, but whatever you choose to do, we wish you all the best.
Wonder if they need a mascot. I could be a good mascot behind the bench.
You could be the new Spartacus.
Good idea.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Wally. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks,
See you,
Roots.
Connecting to the Methot. Methot now connected.
Meth, we just spent $17 on making this new Methot graphic, and we're back to this. You look like you're in a cave.
I know. Well, you know what it is?
No.
It's not the Methernet's not the issue anymore. It's the adapter cables that I'm dealing with
my
and the
God.
cameras. Now it's not good.
You know what we're gonna do? You're gonna call the guys at TSN, which you're now friends with, and get them to bring in a broadcast truck for every time we do a show. We're gonna park it at the mansion. We're gonna have a full studio set up. Is what's gonna happen.
Oh
okay?
shit, man!
Work on that.
Hey, listen. I'm embarrassed, and I feel for Craig more than anybody because he's the one that has to do all the editing now because of my shit connection.
This one's gonna be an edit there, boys.
Yeah.
So I think you look. It's a lot softer lighting. It's very nice for you.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Craig. I don't know what to tell you. We apologize for the work we're gonna make you do now.
Oh, it's all good. You know what though? The Yarkko interview was great. I don't know if you guys know this. He's one of the guys I love watching play. He's just an absolute shithead, and I love it. He's one of those guys that when you see him on the other team, you hate him.
Yes.
And we got him on Ottawa for like 3 years, and you fall in love with him, right? Like those guys that are just like they can get under anybody's skin. They'll get under your teammates' skin. Like they're just the best. I love those guys. Anyways,
but he's fun to talk to. Like in the room, those guys afterwards, where you're like, I would like to drive his face into the boards, is always fun to talk to afterwards in the room. That's what I always like. Anyway.
Yeah, him and I missed each other. I was kind of working more marketing stuff at the time. So, I mean, I got to see him play, but I didn't get to work with him like that. So it was cool to kind of get to see like an extended interview with him. I love that guy. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, one more thing we got to do before we get out of here, while Meth's internet is still working and the camera's still pointed at him and everything else. So I don't want to jinx it. We got some more Bonesaw stuff to give away based off of our Yarkko interview. Another one of their kind of Christmas pack things. And he was talking about his time with the Ottawa Senators. So here's today's question, which is who were his teammates that made up the century line that he talked about? Everybody, when you add up their age, is over 100. So if you know the answer to that, head on over to Twitter and use the hashtag Wally and Methot. And you could earn yourself a Bonesaw Sauce Co holiday pack. Also, head on over to the website too. You can use the code WHAM, get 15% off your order. Get them in soon though. Christmas is coming up. So if you want to get something for that, I would hustle on that.
We do want to thank all our sponsors who've been fantastic to us. But and that, Whitewater, Bonesaw, Gong Show, BEI, Sports Interaction. Do you guys order a lot from Amazon, by the way?
The missus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
You order it,
my wife does.
Do you get email saying rate this order? Like, hey, tell us what you think about the order. And I'm like, well, you stop. It's Christmas. It's not for me. It's a gift. I would appreciate you not blowing up my emails. But maybe I'm doing
good
something
point.
wrong.
I didn't think of that.
But that's what's bugging me. Yeah.
I ordered some weird candy for my kids like a year ago, and now I always get emails from Amazon. It's like more things you might like, and it's like caramel. Yeah. I was like, I'll just go to the store. Like, come on, guys, relax here. Anyways,
I'm with you. Okay.
The algorithm.
I'm worried, Meth. So we're gonna let you go and check back in on Monday to see what's next with the Methernet.
Oh no, it'll be sorted out. Don't worry, guys.
I thought it was sorted out. Remember?
Yeah.
See you, everybody. Have a good weekend.
I'll see you later. Yeah. Okay.
That's the Wally Methot Show. We'll talk to you on Monday.